Hello class, so I want to get started on a screencast here so that I don't have to take up all the time that we have when we Zoom. So what we are looking at is the assignment that or the rubric for our first short essay, okay? And so what I'm going to do is after I record and upload this, I will be posting this in our announcement folder, okay? So it's not there yet because I'm recording it right now. So if we look at the content, some of you may have noticed this already. So this is for week 5, October 5th through the 9th. And I have asked you to read this segment out of book titled A Pre-Socratics Reader, and you are only asked to read chapter 5 on Heraclitus of Ephesus, pages 39 to 54 of the book itself, not the PDF pages, okay? And so the book is right here. And so as you can see, it takes a little bit for the book to upload, and we could go to the table of contents and we see that it's on page 39 of the text itself, and we travel there really quick and see that here it is, okay? And on page, they're starting on page 39, and then you'll see that this is a bunch of fragments, okay? And so you'll understand the significance of that as you continue reading. And then there's also a link here that I have you look at from the Encyclopedia of Philosophy on Heraclitus that I want you to look at, because this will situate how it is that you're organizing your writing, okay? Because this essay highlights some of these points, okay? So here then, before our Zooming on Tuesday, October 6th, how is that possible that this is due October 5th, but yet we're meeting on October 6th? This is odd. Okay, so I just changed it so that it's October 12th. So I found a typo. So I'm glad that I was reading that. So let's change this to the student. So I was glad that I was reading it because that exposed my date typo. Always know that I sometimes will get dates confused because I have all these different classes. And so if you ever see any date discrepancy, don't hesitate to email me, by the way, okay? Because I just noticed one of mine. Okay, so I changed it to the 12th, which is the due date. So on October 6th is when we'll meet to talk about the metaphysics of Heraclitus, to touch on finding a fragment of Heraclitus and write it down. What is that fragment? Then 2, how does that fragment relate to reason or logos? 3, how does the fragment relate to a unity of opposites? 4, how does the fragment relate to change? 5, how does the fragment relate to metaphysics? Okay, so you're addressing those questions and thinking about that before we meet on the 6th, and we'll have a way that we work through this as a group, okay? And so do the reading before then as usual, and then now let's go ahead and click on the assignment itself for the short essay so we can start looking at that. So here we have the metaphysics of Heraclitus, first short essay. Again, you're asked to read the Patricia Curd as I showed you, designated pages. Here's the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy link that I want you to look at. Here's also my lecture on Heraclitus. Okay, and so go ahead and read that, listen to that as well. And then so what to do to write. So in approximately 700 words, answer the following questions and follow guidelines thereof. 700 words is what? Not very much. It sounds like it's a lot. It's actually not very much. It's 3 something pages, something like that. Okay, so work on fulfilling and answering the following questions. Same drill as we were working earlier. So find a fragment, and what is that fragment? This will be the only part that you quote, by the way. Okay. 2, how does that fragment relate to reason or logos? How does the fragment relate to unity of opposites? 4, how does the fragment relate to change? 5, how does the fragment relate to metaphysics? Only specify one subcategory as we've understood it so far, okay? Then, do's and don'ts. So these are critical to pay attention to, so be sure you read all of this before you start writing, okay? So 1, make sure to address all the itemized criteria points as specifically as possible. Students who itemize each criteria point into subheadings usually do the best with this focus. So in other words, these are the criteria points, okay? And you're making sure that each one relates to this fragment you've selected, and then also that you're addressing each one of these questions as specifically as possible. 2, make sure to show how the philosophy is working for the particular philosopher in question, not how you feel about it personally or in your opinion. You're not just answering, how does this relate to change, and then just randomly answering that. You're looking at it and asking yourself, how is change understood for Heraclitus, because you've done the reading, you've listened to my lecture, etc. And you're saying, well, there's a way that change works in there, etc. Okay, so then 3, avoid using verb phrases as Heraclitus says, Heraclitus talks about, etc. Okay, see Bloom's taxonomy of verbs. A student was asking me the other day if there's some specific way I see students using this. I'm just thinking about using it free form. In other words, he was thinking that maybe you had to figure out how this fits into a synthesis and then take it from there. That's more what this the person that made this chart was aiming at. This is a pedagogical tool. What I'm thinking is click here if you're thinking of writing says, and instead of writing says, Heraclitus hypothesized, Heraclitus develops, Heraclitus shows, Heraclitus chooses, Heraclitus explains, Heraclitus predicts. Okay, so I'm fine with you just using it as easily as possible, kind of free form, but instead of these verb phrases as says, okay, or talks about, anything like that. 4, in conversation, that sort of thing is fine, but in writing, you just want to be a better writer and use different verb phrases, alternative verb phrases. 4, make sure to write to the word count, i.e. 700 words. If you do not write to the word count, you are not allowing yourself enough room to move through the ideas. Sometimes students write the 500 words or 300 words and think, oh, I nailed it. That actually is the worst thing you want to do, because what happens is that then I dock you for not getting to the word count. And second of all, you're not allowing yourself enough room to talk about the things, okay? 5, except for quoting the fragment, do not use any other quotations. Write in your own words. If your so-called Turnitin similarity, that's this up here. So when you turn it in, we have a plagiarism checker on it, is higher than 10%, I will not grade it, okay? And I have it toggled so that you get an indication that it's higher than 10%. And then also, too, I have this little follow-up that know that your Turnitin similarity could be high if you were to copy and paste, say, my questions verbatim, okay? but I can tell the difference between whether you copied my questions verbatim versus whether or not you copied something from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Okay, that's clear to me, or some other essay from the web, because their Turnitin similarity will show exactly what is at question, and I can tell. Okay, it gives me a reading. So then 6, and you can tell too before you turn it in case that's a problem. And if you do discover that, then change it. 6, reread aloud as you go to avoid typos and grammatical errors. If I cannot understand your line of thought, I cannot understand your philosophy or the philosophy. So remember, I just found a typo in my scheduling and I just changed it. But the only way I really found it was because I was rereading it to you. Okay. So don't think this is just some corny thing. I'm suggesting that when you write, try to read these aloud either to yourself or to someone who'll listen to you. And that's how you'll find typos. Okay. Okay, so then 7, do not write about any of the philosophical ideas as if they are persons. Okay, so virtue states, this fragment states, uh, this fragment believes, that sort of thing, or logos believes, um, etc. Okay, so try to stay away from treating the concept itself as if it's a person. That's a tendency that students want to do, and it's better if you try to write so that you're indicating virtue as an ethical uh, character. That, in other words, it's a point of a person's character, not a person in and of itself. So then 8, do ask me questions if you are confused about any of this. In other words, do not submit written work before you clear up any confusion and then complain that my instructions were confusing when you get a grade that you didn't like. So you end up getting a C because you were super confused about all of this and you didn't ask me about it. And then you got the C and then complained, that was confusing. You were really confusing with your instructions, Mr. Madrid. That by that time, it's already too late. And trust me, I've had students do this. So that's one of the reasons I'm writing this. Okay, so ask me as many questions as you possibly can before the due date, before you turn it in, and that will help you. And so this will be due October 12th. Okay, so I think that helps as far as the screencast, and takes a little more time out of our Zoom meeting, where in our Zoom meeting we could focus on uh, the basics for the week. Okay, so thanks.